Hello, welcome on in. It is Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. This is the US Open first round special show. We have 5 matches that Sean Calvert, our senior Age Book Tour handicapper, has decided to find his best bets. Had a look through all the matches and come across 5 matches for you, spreading over across 3 days. Remember that, 3 days on the first round here in New York. Before we introduce you to Sean and go through the bets, please do me one thing. Please hit that subscribe button. We have a record number of views this week. Loads of you join us for the tennis and also for the Premier League. And still, not many of you are hitting that subscribe button. We really need your help on that. Hit the subscribe button. Ring the bell. Give us a like. You'll be notified of every time any bit of content drops across what's going to be a very busy couple of weeks here on our previews on the men's and the women's draw over at the US Open in Flushing Meadows. Okay, that's the housekeeping out of the way. Let's get into the action. Let's get into the bets. And the man we have to give us the winners is our senior ATP Tour handicapper, Sean Calvert. He still hasn't taken off his lucky cap. He's going to wear it throughout the tournament. The vintage look is rocking up by Sean. Good morning, Sean. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I think it's this people that happen to come to the US Open. They can recognise me now, can't they? They can. I'm sure lots of our viewers will want to come up and say things to me when I'm there. Yeah. So I'll be the only one, I think, wearing a 2008 US Open cap. So there you go. It's identity as well.
Well, I might wear this. Seeing as Oasis are in town, I might wear. See people come up to me. What about the Oasis bucket hat?
They're playing in New York.
They're playing New. I'm there. I'm going.
You know, I don't know anything about what goes on in sort of popular culture and stuff. I knew they'd played, obviously, England. I didn't realise they were playing in New York.
Yeah. Toronto tonight, New York, 1st of September and the 31st of August, I think. Yeah,
so where
on the Monday.
Play?
My final night.
Where are they playing?
MetLife Stadium.
Where's that?
Where the World Cup final. Oh, God. Where the biggest stadium in America, I think, where the World Cup final is going to be. Where the Club World Cup Championship, where Donald Trump presenting the trophy to Chelsea. Yeah, anyway. One thing he does know about is tennis, folks. So don't go away yet. I mean, let's move on to what you're here for, the tennis. And we have 5 matches over in the first round of the Flushing Meadows in New York. And we're going to start off with an interesting match, a very interesting match. Obviously, there's an outright show as well. You want to see the show on the channel. The outright picks from Sean and myself are there, and also the WTA as well, women's side. But let's have a look at this interesting match to start off with. This wasn't probably a match that we thought potentially would be a shock, or even thought about it a few weeks back, but it is now turned into an interesting match. The match between Holger Rune and Botic van der Zandschulp. Now, Botic van der Zandschulp is in sensational form. He's come through to the final in Winston-Salem. He's up against Kekmanovic, who, can you believe it? Kekmanovic walkover against my man, Sebastian Korda. Is it not, who's he playing against? Fuchsovich. Yeah. Well, I'm going mad. Fuchsovich, who got a walkover against my man, Sebastian Korda, when I bet him to win the tournament, said he's back. All of a sudden he gets injured.
How many times is that now? 12?
Too many. But he's up against Fuchsovich tonight, not Kekmanovic. I got that confused. But anyway, the first round of Wimbledon, US Open, I do know he's playing Botic van der Zandschulp. He's playing Holger Rune. Holger Rune is minus 265 with Bet Rivers. Van der Zandschulp is plus 205. Spread here is 4.5, and the total is a massive 37.5, a high 37.5 for a first round match. Holger Rune did see some money in the opening flurries when the draw come out, and because he does lead a 2-0 in the head-to-heads. But Botic van der Zandschulp shocked the tennis world by beating Carlos Alcaraz at this stage last year. He's got some points to defend here, so the pressure is on him, and he's coming in here with good form. We've said before with Botic, when he's on it, he's on it. When he's off it, he's off it. Is he on it or off?
I don't know. I'm hoping he's on it. I mean, I could have done without him making the final of Winston-Salem, to be honest. That can sometimes be a negative. We don't know when this match is being played. We know it's not Sunday. I hope it's not Monday. It could well be Tuesday if that's the case. And this is a great chance for Botic because it's not just about the form. It's about Rune. Yet, you know, he hasn't proven yet that he can handle conditions in New York. Van der Zandschulp was coming back to the scene of probably his best ever win, as you said, against Alcaraz, former quarter-finalist here. This could be retribution for Van der Zandschulp. He could win the Winston-Salem to get that off his back, and then he could beat Rune. You'd think that he'd be keen to beat Rune after their 2 priors. The head-to-head of 2-0 to Rune doesn't tell the whole story at all. I mean, both came in the final of Munich. The first one was a retirement from Van der Zandschulp, and the second was one of the worst chokes in recent memory. Do you remember that match? It was ridiculous. No. It was.
Can't remember we got to the final of Winston-Salem 2 days ago, let alone that.
He was 5-2 double break up, serving for the match. Failed from 40-15, 2 match points up. Then failed to serve it out of 5-4. Broke Rune again to serve for it again at 6-5. also failed from 40-15 up. Then he lost the tiebreak. It derailed him for a long time. 4 match points on serve, all not taken. But the head-to-head of those 2 matches, it says 2-0 to Rune, but it shouldn't have been. One was a retirement, the other one was an epic choke. So it's 102-98 service points won and return points won totals of those 2 matches to Van der Zandschulp. So he obviously the first one was a retirement. He certainly should have won the second one. So he's had the better of their head-to-head, which is, it's on clay, but you would think that Rune wouldn't be too worried about playing on clay. That's, one of his best surfaces or always was in the past. But here's the thing about the US Open records. This is a tournament. Some players don't like it. Thinking Tsitsipas, Rune so far. There's plenty that just Humbert keeps moaning about it. There's plenty of guys that just don't like the noise. It's, if you've not been there, you perhaps don't realise, but it's very noisy. It's nothing like sort of Wimbledon, the sort of serene atmosphere at Wimbledon. There's all sorts of stuff going on. It can be quite, the air can be quite, smoggy. It's loud. There's all sorts going on. Some players just don't like it. The US Open records suggest that one of these players likes it, loves it, and the other one doesn't. Van der Zandschulp seems to love it. He's played 12 matches here, won 8 of them. So he's got a 67% win rate, service points won and return points won, total 101. Former quarter-finalist here. Rune's played 5 matches, lost 4 of them. So he's got 20% win rate, service points won and return points won, total of 88. So on the US Open form, it's absolutely no contest in favour of Van der Zandschulp. We're being asked to bet Rune here at minus 265. Obviously, the only worry I've got about this really is that Van der Zandschulp's still playing in Winston-Salem. He's got 1 match to go, but I mean he's playing great. He even won 2 matches in a day yesterday. So he's not going to want to stop. I think he'd probably want to stop if it was a 250 in, I don't know, Bucharest or something. But it's not. It's the US Open. It's the tournament that he's gone so well at. You've got such great memories. Who wouldn't want to come back to a tournament where you've got that record? You've beaten Alcaraz. There's this, and this, as I said, this could be a chance of complete retribution for Van der Zandschulp, beating the guy who's given him all those bad memories of Munich, and if he wins that title, even better. He shouldn't be that tired either. I mean, he had 3 weeks off prior to Winston-Salem, so it's not like he's been playing back to back weeks, and there's all that accumulated fatigue coming in. He should be relishing coming back here. Rune should be nervous about this, not only because of his poor record against, at the US Open, but he knows Van der Zandschulp can beat him as well. So I'm going to go plus 1.5 sets here on the handicap. That's a tactic I often use on the underdogs because so often they go well, but they don't quite get over the line over the best of 5 sets. But I wouldn't be surprised if these odds have changed because they change quite quickly. But I've got here plus 120 on Botic, Van der Zandschulp, plus 1.5 sets in this one. May have changed, I'm not sure.
Yeah, check the prices out with the Bet Rivers website and on the app. And if you do download the app and have a bet and take Sean's advice, you'll be able to live stream this match. Botic Van der Zandschulp against Holger Rune. The action starts tomorrow, as I said, on Sunday. This match isn't scheduled for Sunday. We predict it'll probably be Tuesday, given the exploits of Botic over in the Winston-Salem. So check the website, check the order of play. But that is our first. Is it our first official pick of the tournament?
I think it's definite value. I think you have to take Rune on at a tournament that he's done, so poorly in.
So our first official pick is to get with the man who caused the biggest shock in the world of tennis last year, Botic Van der Zandschulp, after he beat Carlos Alcaraz, and we think he's going to make it tough for Holger Rune in the first match of our preview here. Let's move on to our second match, and it is a match that brings us some sort of not great memories, not the best of memories. Daniil Medvedev up against Benjamin Bonzi. The two of these played at Wimbledon earlier in the year, and Bonzi won the match. Sean was in attendance, so you can tell you firsthand what happened in that match. Painful memories. I like to bring them back to you, Sean. But Medvedev is minus 455 to gain revenge for this. It showed no form, the 2021 champion. Benjamin Bonzi is plus 330. Spread is 5.5, and the total here is 36.5. Now, these two players have played twice before in majors, and both of them wins have gone to Bonzi. He beat him in the French Open, he beat him at Wimbledon, and now they meet at the US Open. Now, Medvedev is a player that is not playing at all well at the moment. Bonzi knows he can beat him on the big stage, but Medvedev's having him at plus 330. Can we rely on Medvedev, or can Medvedev supporters see that some of that form that he's shown in 2021? Is it there? Has it gone? Has the game gone for him? Has other players taken over big time? Have we seen the best of Medvedev? What do you think of this one?
I think at the minute you would have to say we've seen the best of Medvedev. I mean, he can always come back. He's not old, of course. He can come back, but at the minute, he's absolutely nowhere. This is probably the worst he's been for many, many years. The way that he's playing at the minute, there's nothing there for him. It's I couldn't possibly bet him at anything like this price. If you're putting him in a parlay, you're taking a big chance, I think, based on how he is at the minute. I mean, this hard court swing, Medvedev's lost so far to Mute, Adam Walton, and Alexei Popyrin. You wouldn't think, a couple of years ago that would be possible. It just wouldn't happen a couple of years ago. He was so consistent, particularly on hard courts, but there's nothing happening for a minute. The confidence has got to be low, like really low. And he's a confidence player anyway. He tends to go on big streaks. I remember one year when he won Rotterdam, and then he ended up winning Doha, Dubai. He went on a big old run. And that's the kind of player he is. I don't think he's been as low on confidence as he is at the minute, not in recent years. And also, perhaps more worryingly, it looks like he can't handle the heat at the moment, the heat and humidity like he used to be able to. He plays a very physical style, as we know, a lot of kind of counter-punching rallies. Previously, players wouldn't expect him to miss. He's missing more than he used to. In the old days, if you got locked in a rally with Medvedev, and it went about 20, 30 shots, you're not confident. You're thinking you've got to play 2 or 3 really great shots just to win a point. It's not happening at the minute for Medvedev. He doesn't seem to be able to do those long rallies physically. He's got an interesting quote, actually. It's quite a rambling quote, but it's quite interesting what he says. It gives you an idea into his mindset. He says, "It was very difficult physically." This is after his last match. "And in such conditions, it seems to me, physics comes to the fore. Now, when there is no complete confidence, when physics fails, there are no shots that can save you from this. And if in the second set there were chances, in the third I could no longer move." This is a best of 3. So it's a shame, a pity, a difficult period, but in such situations the only thing left is to look for a way out. So far I have not found it, and apparently I am far away from finding a way out. Someday I will find it. I don't know what the problem is, because in tennis they can be related to many things, whether on the court or not. So it just sounds like he doesn't know what's wrong. It sounds like he doesn't trust himself physically, in the longer rallies, which is his bread and butter. And if you look at the head-to-head, this is one of the worst draws he could get. I've ignored the clay meeting at the French Open because it was a retirement in favour of Bonzi. So let's be generous and take that one out. The 2 matches that they've played in quicker conditions, grass and indoor hard, service points won and return points won totals 108 to 92 in favour of Bonzi. So he hasn't, he on those stats, he should have won both meetings. I think he lost in final set tiebreak in the indoor hard one, but overwhelming really in favour of the Frenchman. Hold serve 92% of the time against Medvedev. Medvedev winning only 27% of return points, which the return is usually one of Medvedev's strengths, 27% of return points. He's been nowhere near the Bonzi serve. And on second serve, where you would expect potentially Medvedev to be the better player from the back of the court, not so. Bonzi winning 68% of second serve points against 52% for Medvedev. So everywhere you look in those stats of that meeting, it's heavily favoured Bonzi. And he's the one coming in here with the confidence. He's beaten Tsitsipas, Arnaldi, and Musetti in Cincinnati. So he's not going to be coming in. He's a bit of a confidence player as well. He's not going to be coming in here thinking, I'm not playing that great. But if you're in the Medvedev side of things, he beat him well at Wimbledon. I know it was grass, but he beat him very, very well. It wasn't a fluke. You should be worried as someone that's in the Medvedev camp. So again, plus 1.5 sets here. Bonzi plus 155 with a 1.5 set start with Bet Rivers. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bonzi wins this. It could all go wrong. This for Medvedev. He needs something to turn and pretty quickly.
So that is our second official play, getting with Bonzi at plus 155 with a 7.5 start. Both seeds under pressure in the first 2 matches we have spoken about. Just were a bit of warning there. The Medvedev-Bonzi game actually is tomorrow. It's Sunday. It's 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. So it's the night match as well. Does that make any difference? Does that make any difference for the way you're thinking?
Medvedev would prefer that, because he's come out recently and said he's not going to play 11 o'clock starts. Weirdly, when he gets to 35, I don't know what he thinks he's going to do for the next 6 or 7 years. But yeah, it's slower conditions at night, more humid. Would that favour Medvedev? Well, it remains to be seen. Maybe it'll make it slower. I don't know whether the humidity is something that he struggled with in recent weeks. So, you could look at it both ways. Slightly slower conditions, you wouldn't have thought that would favour either player, really. But, yeah, no, I think for a bad situation for Medvedev, clearly an early start would be bad because he's saying how he hates those. But, yeah, I don't think it makes that much difference, to be honest.
I think the weather doesn't make much of a relevance in that match being a night match, but obviously during the day, there's an early start tomorrow. I suppose for anybody who want to look at the Bet Rivers website, have a look at the first round matches. What is the weather, Sean? It looks a lot cooler than it usually is.
Yeah, when I looked the other day, it was I think it was supposed to be on Monday. It's supposed to be 20. I think it's about 28, 29. It's not what it was last year when we were there. It was about 32, 33. 34, which was pretty hot. It's been like that in New York in recent weeks, but it's cooled down a little bit now, so a little bit more bearable for the players.
We move on to our next match, and this one is a very, very interesting matchup. It's another seed that is priced up very low with Bet Rivers, another seed that is struggling for all kinds of form, in the worst form of his career, 7 losses in his last 8 matches, and that is Stefanos Tsitsipas up against Alexandre Muller. The Greek here is minus 240. I mean, he was absolutely awful against Tsitsipas in the second round of Winston-Salem. Got beaten by Bonzi in Cincinnati. His only win was against Marijan. He's up against Alexandre Muller, who is a man who's pushing up. Probably going to overtake him in the rankings if he wins this match. That's how much Tsitsipas has fallen. Plus 185 for Muller. Spread is 4.5, and the total here is a high 38.5. They have met 2 times before. Once in Rome on a clay court this year, which Tsitsipas won 6-2, 7-6, which the only form that Tsitsipas has shown in recent years has been on clay, so no surprise there. And in 2024, Tsitsipas beat Muller 6-3, 7-5. But this is a very, very different version of Stefanos Tsitsipas, a man who was seeded as high as 4 or 5, I believe, a few years ago. Now looking like he might fall out of the top 32 in the world if he doesn't win this match. Nobody, and I mean nobody, however, if he wins it or not, nobody can be betting Stefanos Tsitsipas at minus 240 on his form at the moment.
No, not. I mean, against most players in this draw, I can't think of too many players in this draw who I'd bet him against at minus 240. Just the way he's playing at the minute, people are just looking at the name and thinking, yeah, he's going to win this. It's Tsitsipas, Grand Slam finalist. He's not that man at the moment. Hasn't been for quite a while, actually. Desperate form, poor record in the US Open as well, Tsitsipas. Last match, as you said, was a very, very tame loss to Boo. I know it was the week before a major, but he needed matches and confidence. He wasn't coming in there having played 4 or 5 matches in Cincinnati and then having a bit of a tank. It was, I think that was the best he could do. It was dreadful. It was, the stats of that match. He only held serve 41% of the time, Tsitsipas. And his serve has often been one of his big weapons. Serve, forehand. That's his game. On a hard court, it's a weapon, but it's not at the minute. Holding serve 41% of the time. He only won 26% of second serve points in that match against Boo. Boo won it 112-88 in terms of service points won and return points won totals, and it's indicative of how he's been playing Tsitsipas. If you look at his last 10 matches at main level, 30% win rate, service points won and return points won total of 97. That's way down on what we've seen from him in the past. I know hard courts aren't always necessarily his best surface. He prefers clay, but he didn't even have a good clay swing. Lost to Gigante at the French Open. I don't think he's made a semi-final, this clay swing. He's barely winning back-to-back matches at tournaments. And as I said, the more bad news for Tsitsipas is the fact that his US Open record is poor as well. He's played 13 matches here, lost 7 of them. So he's got a losing record, 6-7, 46% win rate. Service points won and return points won total is not too bad, 101.6, but he's just not winning the matches. He's lost 4 of his last 5 matches here, Tsitsipas. Never been past the last 32. So this is clearly his worst slam for whatever reason. I said some players just don't take to the conditions in New York. Muller wasn't good at all in his last match. That was a classic pre-slam tank against Petr Pericard. Cost me. There we are. This is his chance of a bit of retribution. He's had some pretty horrible draws at the US Open and at majors in general, Muller. Zverev and Djokovic were his last 2 losses at the US Open. In his 14 matches at majors, he's faced Djokovic twice, Mensik, Zverev, Medvedev, Sinner, Alcaraz, Arnoldi and Borges amongst those 14. So he's had pretty tough draws. This is another tough draw, but he's capable of winning this match on the basis of what we've seen from Tsitsipas in recent weeks, and particularly last week. He's more than capable of winning this. He's won a title on hard court at the start of the season, again in hot and humid conditions in Hong Kong. Made the final in Rio, which doesn't get much hotter and more humid than Rio. Made the final there at 500 level. And as you said, Nigel, he's only 10 spots lower in the rankings than Tsitsipas, 28 to 38. So he's not exactly far behind, but he's plus 185 to win this. Again, plus 1.5 sets looks the way to go here. That's round about even money, I believe. Might be 1.93, I think, now, around about minus 108. But I think that's the way to go. If Tsitsipas is going to win this, I suspect it's going to be a battle.
Yeah, Tsitsipas is a man in awful kind of force. Tsitsipas and Medvedev, 2 fades for us alongside Holger, Rune as well. Shows you that these seeds are being priced up, we feel, on reputation rather than current form going into these matches. Let's go on to the next one. This match I actually looked at already. I thought this was quite an interesting matchup, actually. Lorenzo Sonego, the Italian, up against Tristan Schoolkate, the Aussie. And I've been impressed with Schoolkate. I mean, he beat Fonseca, João Fonseca in Canada. And he played exceptionally well. Big server, good player, going to do damage, and always a player that I like as in the opening rounds to sort of pull off a shock. I think he's got a perfect draw here up against Lorenzo Sonego. Minus 315 Sonego, plus 240 for Schoolkate. Spread 4.5 again with Schoolkate, the dog here at plus 102. 37.5 is the games. And you talk about players that don't like or have got a bad record at the US Open. Lorenzo Sonego's got an awful record. Yeah. He's been beaten the first round in 4 of the last 5 years. He's only ever got as far as round 2. So I think this is a real lively contender here on Tristan Schoolkate as a dog.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's hard to be confident about Sonego at the minute. He looked absolutely exhausted in Winston-Salem. He talked about how tired he was, just wanting to sleep, all that stuff. He was defending the title there and barely got past the first round against the college standout player. Just about in a final set tiebreak, then lost to Muller, as I suggested he probably would. And he, as you said, he doesn't have a good record at the US Open either. He's usually a player that, and I've mentioned it quite a few times on this show, that does tend to play his best tennis at majors, but not this one. He's 3-7 win-loss in the main draw of the US Open. Service points won and return points won, total of 98. I mean, that's way down on his stats at the other majors. And Schoolkate has shown himself to be a player that does like the big stage. When he played here last year at the US Open, he beat Daniil as a plus 119 underdog. And then he should have beaten Jakub Mensik. He was 2 sets to love up against Jakub Mensik in the second round. Ended up losing it in a final set tiebreak. Bit of a lack of experience maybe there, but very, very close to beating Mensik in the second round. And in those 2 main draw matches, his service points won and return points won total was 101 against Mensik and Daniil. So I know it's only 2 matches, but it's a promising sign for a youngish player. Then he went to the Australian Open. His next hardcourt major was obviously at home at the Australian Open. Beat Daniil again as slight underdog. And then took a set, probably people will probably remember, took the first set off Jannik Sinner in the next round. So this isn't a guy that struggles with the big stage. Even his home slam in Melbourne, he took it to Sinner and did very, very well against him, winning the first set. As you said, he's beaten Fonseca at the Canada Masters, made the quarterfinals at ATP 250 level in Los Cabos. It doesn't get much more hotter and humid on a hard court than Los Cabos. I know it's slower conditions than here, and if anything, that's more of a feather in his cap, because I would suggest he's probably better on a quicker court, but that one was slow and bouncy, and he made the quarterfinals there as well. Stats-wise, if you look at what both these guys have done this season, 2025 at main level, if we just exclude majors to start with, Sonego, 33% win rate and service points won and return points won, total of 95. Schoolkate, 50% win rate and a total of 102. Now, if you include majors, which obviously Sonego, as I said, tends to play better in majors, it's still no advantage to Sonego. 43% win rate and a service points won and return points won, total of 98.7. Schoolkate, slightly better win rate, 45%, and a total of 98.4, which is almost identical. So you've got one man at minus 315. There's no statistical reason for him to be that price. It's just the fact that he's Lorenzo Sonego and he's higher ranked, and he's played well at majors. But as I've said before, some players just they don't like certain tournaments or certain slams, or for whatever reason they just can't seem to get going. And this has been one for Sonego. A lot of these guys, Sonego, Tsitsipas, Rune, these are all guys that have struggled at this tournament before. So you couldn't bet Sonego at minus 315 on stats, on form, on his tournament form, none of those things. So again, Schoolkate plus 1.5 sets. He was plus 130 when I looked earlier on. I'm not sure whether that's still the same, but it'll be around about there.
I think that's a great price. I think he's a good bet on the money line, plus 240. I think this could be the shock of the first rounds. I love it. There's a few shocks here. Muller plus 185. That Muller plus 185 price, I guarantee you that will trade minus money at some stage in this match. There's no way Tsitsipas is going to win that 3. Love. I think he could lose the first set, come back. Yeah, it's a proper trading match. You've got to take these dogs here on the money line, and then if you want to trade out, trade out. But Tristan Schoolkate is a real lively contender in this match, in my opinion. Sonego is a big fade at the US Open, and he's plus 240, but Sean has found a nice angle there to get Schoolkate plus 1.5 on the set handicap. Now, our final match sees the return of the GOAT, Novak Djokovic, the man who sets all the records on the Majors champions, a former champion here many, many times, and he's up against Tien, the young American player who's got a big future in the game, but is this big step up for him against Novak Djokovic. I think the American will thrive in playing the GOAT here. A minus 835 is the price for Novak Djokovic, plus 540 Tien. The spread is a massive 6.5, and the total here is 34.5. Now, we haven't seen Novak Djokovic since the Wimbledon semi-final. He got beat by Yannick Sinner 3-0. Prior to that, we didn't see him since the semi-final of the French Open, where he got beat 3-0 by Yannick Sinner. He's choosing to play in the majors, and he's now making his return at the US Open. Has a long time off, long summer. You know he's going to be, this is Novak Djokovic. You know he's going to be fit, but at 38 years of age, up against an American, a young American with a big future, a confident American as well. This is a proper test for Novak Djokovic here.
Yeah, it should be a really good test for Djokovic. As you said, he's not played since Wimbledon. He's just playing the slams at this point, isn't he?
Yep.
You can understand why. 38 years of age, he can't do it week in, week out. His body won't let him, or if it does let him, he won't then be at his peak for slams. I mean, he knows what to do to get ready for these tournaments, but this is a tough opponent. Tien's very consistent, makes a lot of balls. Djokovic is going to have to find a good level straight away, which is not that easy to do when you've had that time off. He's coming from grass. Well, coming from grass the last time he played, which was a long time ago. And he's got to play really well if he doesn't want to get taken long here. And the last thing he wants is to be playing like long 4-5 sets in the early stages. And then if he does get to the sort of semis, he's got nothing left for in this case, probably Alcaraz. That's not what he wants, but he's going to have to play very, very well right off the bat to do it here. Wimbledon, he dropped sets to the aforementioned Alexandre Muller, Caboli, de Minaur. It's a tough ask for him to just come in and just knock this off in straight sets. It just doesn't seem that likely. I mean, Tien shocked Medvedev at the last hardcourt major back at the start of the year, and his return game is what it's all about for Tien. He wins pretty much the same percentage of return points on a hardcourt this year at main level as Djokovic does. What a great returner Djokovic is. 38% return points won Tien on a hardcourt this year, and 38.5% Djokovic. So only half a point there behind the best returner of all time this season on hardcourt. And this is a player whose game has held up against the best. He's won 4 of his last 5 matches against top 10 opponents as Tien. And in his last 10 matches against the current top 20s, pretty decent stats. Not mind-blowing, but promising. 60% win rate, which is very good. And service points won and return points won total of 95. It's not as good as Djokovic, who's got a 50% win rate and a service points won and return points won total of 100. But that's Novak Djokovic. Those still aren't great stats for him. Djokovic would want slightly better numbers than that, but it's promising. And again, in those numbers, Tien wins the same percentage of points as Djokovic on return. They both win 35% of return points in those 10 matches against the current top 20. So he's shown that his game does, as I say, stand up against the better players. Tien, he's not been kind of artificially getting a ranking by winning challenges or getting to the finals of 250, semi-finals of 250. He's been beating the best players around, a lot of them. So I think what to do. I think this price has changed actually since I'd looked at this a while ago. I think Djokovic has eased in the market. He was about 1.09, I think, when I originally looked at this. I think he's changed a little bit. I was going to go over. Daniil will be over 3.5 sets here. It was around about even money. I suspect it's shorter than that now, which is a concern. But there's plenty of ways to get with Tien. The over games worries me slightly because it's such a return-oriented sort of matchup. I think you might see quite a lot of breaks. So you could see maybe the odd 6-1, 6-2 set somewhere with the way these guys return potentially, which would kind of put me off a little bit on the over games. But over 3.5 sets or plus 2.5 sets on Tien, you probably get about 1.9, something like that. So that's where I'd go here. I'm a little bit nervous about taking on Djokovic in a major. It's cost me before, so just to lean for that one. But I think Tien will give him some sort of a match. Yeah,
I quite like the 6.5 start at plus 110, plus one money. Novak Djokovic minus 141 to win by 7 games.
The worry is
first set overs. I think first set overs tight, and then
the worry for me is that if 1-6-2 set could, or 6-1 set, or something like that, 6-2 set could really put the spanner in the works because of the way that both these guys return. And Tien's not the biggest to serve. If Djokovic, you could see him winning a set 6-2 or something like that. But there's plenty of ways to do it. I think you'll get a much bigger price in play on Djokovic than what we're seeing at the minute. I think this will be a tough old test. First set maybe to Tien is another option, probably the best big priced option. You get a decent price on that Tien winning the first set. That wouldn't surprise me with Djokovic being obviously rusty. So maybe that's the way to go. But yeah, one of those options is good.
I'll take a 6-1 set, Tien to win 6-1 with plus 6.5. It'd be nice, it'd be lovely. So there is 5 matches. There are loads and loads of different matches available on the BetRivers website. 64 matches on the men's, 64 matches on the women's. Remember, if you do have a bet on the match, you'll be able to live stream the match from the comfort of your own home, or your tablet, your mobile device, or your laptop. And if you like what you hear on these shows, please subscribe to our newsletter. The Insider was out this week. It was a US Open special. Next week, I think it is, we've got an NFL season special as well, the start of the NFL. We've got Premier League picks in it as well, UFC picks as well, big boxing fights whenever they happen. All the handicappers get involved in the Insider, and it's free, and it's available at bettingweeklystudios.com. If you followed our picks throughout the year in 2025, it's been an up and down season, a roller coaster ride, but we're in profit of plus 12.13 units on the show. So hopefully you would have cashed a few of those tickets, and hopefully over the next 2 weeks we'll have new subscribers, new followers, new people join us, and we'll be cashing tickets together. It's better when you win together. Anyway, that is it for the show. But before I wrap up, Sean, just give us your recap of your best bets for the first round of the US Open with BetRivers.
Yes, so the first one, if I just scroll back to the top, that's our old friend Botic van der Zandschulp plus 1.5 sets to beat Holger Rune. I think that's around about 2.1 now, plus 110, something like that. Plus 1.5 sets there to beat Rune. Benjamin Bonzi, again, plus 1.5 sets to beat Medvedev. That's plus 155, I believe, with BetRivers. And the third one, Alexandre Muller to beat the struggling Tsitsipas. Again, plus 1.5 sets. That's around about even money. And the final one, the same bets, plus 1.5 sets on Tristan Schoolkate to beat Sonego. That, I believe, is plus 130 with BetRivers.
I am going to play all the dogs on the money line for $100 each one and see how we go. I think it's a day for the dogs. I like all 5 of those dogs there.
I think there's a lot of matchups in the first round that you think might be tricky. I mean, quite often when you're looking at these first round matches, you're looking at these 1.03, 1.05 shots, and you just think, nah, it's not going to happen. But it's quite a lot of trickles. Even Alcaraz, got a Pelka in his first match. I know it's a night match, which probably wouldn't favour a Pelka, but you're looking at people like Musetti, who've got Pechi, Pericard, people like that. They might not win the match, but they could win the first set. Incidentally, just talking about that Opelka match, I think the first 6 sets, the last 6 opening sets Opelka's played at the US Open have all gone to a tiebreak. So that was tempting as well. Set 1 overs against Alcaraz. There's plenty of options. Sometimes you are scratching around a little bit in the first round of majors, but not this one. There's a lot of matchups that I think could be tough tests for the seeds. I mean, the names that we've talked about today, they're all quite big names, and they're all likely to be tested, or I hope they are.
Yeah. Some big tests ahead. Obviously, it's a tournament that does produce more shocks than any other major as well on the match betting as well, because obviously all the players are exhausted at the end of the year, and you do get some shocks. So hopefully we get some shocks tomorrow. We found it a better way to bet with them rather than a money line. But if you're a bit more of an adventurous gambler like I am, I'm going to go all in and bet them all on the money line. That's been it for the show. Remember, there's loads of other content coming here. Betting Weekly WTA has got a preview show on the first round matches. Betting Weekly WTA also has an outright show as well. We also have the Futures show here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match with the men's and the show there with some picks on the outright market. Some big price picks there if you haven't watched that as well. Also, the Premier League continues this weekend. Sunday and Monday's matches are featured on Betting Weekly Premier League and Betting Weekly Extra Time that smashed it out of the park with 7.2 units of profit on week number 1. Looks at all the matches across Europe this week with James, Dan and Steve. And also Betting Weekly, Fast Break and Hardball in the stateside. Doug Kazari and his team of American handicappers have been on fire in recent weeks, and they've been cashing tickets as well on a busy period of American sports, and that'll be covered for you all next week as well. Betting Weekly Live as well, Monday through to Wednesday, all the in-play from the US Open. And myself and Sean will be over in New York all week, starting from tomorrow. Sean will be flying out, and I'll be joining him on Wednesday, and I'll be there until the Tuesday. So the first week will be courtside, and you can follow us on our socials at Because We Win. If you like betting, you like tennis betting, you like soccer betting, you like sports betting, you like baseball betting, you like NFL, whatever your sport, whatever your passion, we have it covered here on the Betting Weekly Studios. Hit that subscribe. Join us for the next couple of weeks. We'll have some fun. Take care. All the best.